Hey, Collective, welcome to tonight's reading. So, we're doing something a little bit different that we've done a few times before, doing some channeled messages, but going to do it in a different fashion than I've done before. So, I've been getting walloped over the head with synchronicities from Apollo. And seeing as he's the god of oracles, I mean, that seemed, kind of fitting. Oh, we're already off to a good start here. But I didn't get or try to get any messages in meditation directly from him for this message. So I'm just starting with a significator reading with the Sun card, and looks like we've got two fives popping out right out the gate. So the Five of Pentacles and the Five of Wands, and this is the Murder of Crows tarot. But I just wanted to jump right in this to see what he wanted to talk about. And looks like it is change. Change is the main theme of this, and change for the better. Because, I mean, starting with the sun as the significator, this is one of the, if not the most positive card in the deck. And both the Five of Pentacles and the Five of Wands, rife with strife, a little bit of a rhyme there, god of poetry as well for Apollo. But I think it's for these things coming to an end. So if you've been in a really difficult cycle, you know, imbued with conflict, maybe financial difficulties, and this is a person here. Looks like they're tied up at the stake, and in the Rider Waite deck, there are two individuals outside of a church in the snow, one on crutches, the other not, but they're like missing socks walking in the snow. So, a really bad situation, as well as being tied to a stake. And I put this possibly you are done chasing the almighty dollar. And let me clarify that a little bit. What I mean is that's not the main focus. Because, of course, we're all material girls living in a material world, right? If that has been dominating your decision process, I think that's coming to an end. That it doesn't even necessarily need to be that you're receiving some sort of massive windfall or something, but just pursuing your passion instead of pursuing the dollar, and releasing the conflict around that. Because I know I came from a very typical structure in my upbringing of, get the 9 to 5, go to college, like do the traditional route. Going my own way would not be accepted in that structure. And even though I've extracted myself from that, there's still conflict within. So maybe you're dealing with some sort of conditioning as well. Let's see. So this is the main nature of what he wants to talk about. So let's see what the challenge is, or some sort of obstacle that might be getting in the way of this change, because that's two fives. So even though, like, I'm reading those as positive, it feels though like that change might be blocked somehow, like stagnated out. So what's that about? What's the obstacle here? And a little bit about Apollo, for those who are maybe not familiar. He was one of two patron gods of the oracles of Delphi. He was the main god for the warmest 9 months of the year, where he would be at the Temple of Apollo, and then for the remaining months, Dionysus would take over for the colder months. So, Six of Swords in reverse for the challenge. And the very, it's almost like a Viking like boat, the way it's carved out there, but it's giving me Charon or Sharon vibes, however you pronounce that, the uh, Greek ferryman on the way to Hades. So, a fear of change, a fear of leaving what you know, because the Six of Swords is the journey card, like the travel card. There's also like Three of Wands as well, but this is actually people getting in a boat and we're out of here. So is there something either externally that is actually stopping the progress of whatever change is trying to manifest in your life? Or is it something internal? Let's see, let's get a clarifier. Show me more. Show me more. And back to more about Apollo, he frequently gets mistaken as the god of the sun when he is the god of sunlight. And it's Helios that is, I mean, the sun itself. So a little bit of a important distinction there. And there's quite a few symbols sacred to Apollo in relation to his attributes and myths and so forth. The bow and arrow, the lyre, Lyre, the musical instrument. Swans, I think, or is it that might be Zeus? I think that's Zeus. Yeah. So he's crows, dolphins. I can't remember. There's another. Trees are an important symbol of his. I cannot remember the other person's name in that story. Let's get that clarifier here. Oh, there we go. Six of Pentacles in reverse. Interesting. Two fives, two sixes. So for my numerology people, five is change, six is evolution. And in reverse, they look like nines. So completion, the completion of this cycle. And the Six of Pentacles, that's equal give and take in the upright. In reverse, that's distorted, like imbalanced give and take. This could also be uh deceitful give and take, like the fine print in a contract. Something that like was not readily apparent up front, and even though you were deceived into it, you're still on the hook for it, if that makes sense. Uh huh. So maybe you are hesitant or outright resistant or rejecting a new journey because of bad experiences in the past. Maybe, I mean, since it's pentacles, this could be poor experiences with previous jobs where you didn't receive what you were promised, something like that. And this could also be like expanded out to other resources beyond finances, like time, things that just occupy the material realm of, oh, I was told this was going to be a 40-hour a week job. Why am I working 60 hours a week? You know, things like that. And so something could have given to you poorly in that way, or the value of what they were giving was not equal to what you were giving. So say if anybody's ever worked any type of job with an on-call rotation, maybe depending on where you work, you might get a stipend or some sort of, not stipend, like a shift differential. That might not be enough to balance out the toll that it's taking on your body, because that disrupted sleep, if you're getting up every 30 minutes to an hour because your phone's ringing in the middle of the night, it you can't buy a new body. Right? Like you can replace some of the parts over time, but lack of sleep is really remarkably bad for you, and really quickly too. So I want to see maybe a time frame out here next to the challenge. Like, is this happening now? This feels like a present to future tense. This doesn't feel like past energy. And part of the reason I'm saying that is because of how consistently I'm getting walloped over the head with synchronicities. Uh, Oop, that it flipped. Okay, interesting. I wonder which one this is. But normally, like when I start to see synchronicities, and Apollo is the only deity that I've seen that has his name out of context so frequently. Like the was it Apollo 13? But there's other things besides the Greek god that utilize the name Apollo. And generally once I make that recognition of, oh, this is who this is, and I start to work with him and whatnot, the synchronicities will calm down. They haven't. I'm still getting walloped over the head. So I don't know. Ooh, Wheel of Fortune. That's interesting. So as a timing card, so it would have been in reverse had it not done the little flip on the way out. Huh. 6 months? Doing a full turn like that? 6 weeks, 6 months? Oh, another six. Huh. And this is 10. So with these cards in reverse, it is progression. It's present to future, because the sixes look like nines. So 9 to 10. Interesting. Okay. So over here on the left, what do we need to know about this opportunity? Kind of starting a little vague because I don't know where to jump in on that. What do we need to know about this opportunity? What's the nature of it? Or, well, I do want to know, I want to keep it kind of vague. So what's there we go, nature of it? Hmm, judgment in reverse. So 20 over here was 10. Something to clear your name? Something to clear self-doubt? Or, since we were talking about being resistant to the journey, potentially because of past experiences, maybe this opportunity is something to affect your judgment of situations like this, of like to relieve the conflict from the Five of Pentacles and the Five of Wands and give you a new perspective. Like, I know that would typically be the Hanged Man card, but this might be difficult to phrase. So trauma brain can be very convincing that something bad is going to happen because that's what happened before. And it's really difficult to let go of that judgment and step into curiosity if you have a lot of evidence to the contrary. If you've tried and tried and tried to make things work and you keep getting burned, by a janky contract or somebody who's just being deceitful, breaking promises, things like that, that's going to affect your judgment. And there's a tipping point of where caution becomes cognitive distortion, you know? And I say that with love from my trauma brain. I get it. I totally get it. The It's such a conundrum of the only way to rebuild trust is to trust. So, ugh, why it gotta be that way? Why it gotta be so hard? uh, I don't think I need another clarifier on that. So let's see if we have any advice. Advice for this journey, challenge, new opportunity. What is the advice? I like to, as much as I can, let cards flip on their own. I find that they tend to be more synchronous that way. What is the advice here? Or what do we need to know? Anything in particular? That's a few. What do we need to know? King of Wands in reverse, Ten of Pentacles in the upright, and Two of Swords in the upright. Huh. So the King of Wands, that is like the king of ideas, the king of will, king of fire, king of creative fire. This, in this context, feels like a threshold guardian. And it's kind of the ominous like expression of that mask and how like he's glaring, like very Batman. This almost feels like someone who's going to convince you or try to convince you that the 10 of Pentacles is not this direction. And this may create kind of a deadlock in you because it'd be playing on those old fears of or those old fears, experiences of not being given to equally as how you gave. Uh, and she's blindfolded here. I don't know if I've ever seen the Game of Thrones tarot. She wasn't blindfolded, she was blind. So relying on intuition to make that decision of whether or not you really want to go down that path. And the way I'm reading these cards, of course, you have to use your own judgment of, is that opportunity right for you? Because if somebody, suddenly reached out to me and they're like, we'd like to offer you a job as an astronaut, I'd be like, straight to spam on that one. That is not for me. Or we want you to be a basketball player. I know you guys can't see how tall I am. I'm 5'3". Nobody's asking me to play basketball. In lieu of situations like that, is it just something that maybe you wouldn't normally choose? Like this judgment in reverse is catching my attention here of, are you misjudging the situation? Is it, are you potentially turning away from something, Six of Swords in reverse, because of preconceived notions? Like I recall when I was in between gigs a while back, and I went and I did an interview for some, like, it was like a sales job. And I show up to this interview and it's a room full of people. Like I wasn't expecting the group setting, and the way that the guy presented to the room full of candidates, like a classroom, uh was like, if this doesn't sound right for you, feel free to leave. And most of the people got up and left, myself included. It like, if someone's doing something shady like that, don't press past that based on a tarot reading, right? It's more, are you self sabotaging? Do you maybe feel underqualified for whatever is trying to come your way? Something that doesn't normally fit with what you would do? Like, we talked a little bit at the beginning of coming from the traditional structure of 9 to 5 is the way. Is there a deep seated fear that maybe under neutral circumstances you've worked through, but once the rubber hits the road and someone, seeks you out for something potentially, or you run across, I don't know, something on LinkedIn or whatever, and then you freeze, right? It happens. You think you're good with something, and then it stares you right in the face, and then you go, oh, there's still more things to heal. And that doesn't mean don't move forward if you still have things to heal. You don't need to be done healing to do stuff. Like, you don't need to wait for that. Let's see. Let me get an oracle card. Maybe an energy to tie things together. So we've got, looks like outside of the significator, we got 2 major arcanas, and those are the only ones I didn't clarify. But so 6 weeks to 6 months, within that time frame, maybe be on the lookout for a new opportunity that maybe isn't something that you would necessarily seek out on your own. But what's the thing that Rumi said? What you seek is seeking you. Maybe that's how this new opportunity, this new path comes along. It seeks you out. Because you could be buried in these issues. 5 of Pentacles and the 5 of Wands in reverse. This could also be interpreted as like internal struggles. These are things you're struggling with, of what conflict could arise from me going my own way. And these cards are so pretty. This is the Call of the Morrigan. Going with this one. These ones don't like to flip as much. Sword of Nuada. I'm not familiar with this one. Let's see. And that is number 13. 11. Key words: taking right action, truth, determination. Nuada stands poised for battle, his shining sword in hand, shield ready. He is determined in his goal. He knows he can't stand on the sidelines, he must act. The Morrigan, half raven, half woman, whispers to him, inciting him to act, strengthening him so he may face his battles and emerge victorious. This is a moment we should all be familiar with. The moment you decide you're going to do something. That moment you know you must act. Perhaps to protect another, to stand up for yourself, to take a chance on a new endeavor, or to better your life in some way. Whatever it is, Nuada stands ready with us, focused on the path ahead. Nuada was king of the Tuatha De Danann when they arrived to claim Ireland. The Tuatha De Danann battled another group of supernatural beings, the Firbolg. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. That's not ringing a bell in my head. I feel like I have a different name in my head for that. Anyway, for domination over the island. As the two groups battled, Nuada's shield arm was cut off. Despite this, Nuada fought on. Dian Chek, the physician god, replaced Nuada's arm with a magic silver one, like the Winter Soldier, giving him the epithet of a word in Irish, or Silverhand. Because of his blemish, Nuada was forced to give up his kingship. Later, when the king proved him, ugh, Later, when the next king proved to be unworthy, Nuada became king once more when Dian Chek's son, Miak, was able to restore his flesh and blood arm. Divinatory meaning: Nuada's sword, Cleaved Solus, or the Sword of Light, is one of the four treasures of the Tuatha De Danann brought to Ireland. Nuada's sword is connected to truth. When this card appears, it can represent the truth being exposed and casting away our illusions. The sword, once drawn from its sheath, was unconquerable in battle. Know the truth is on your side. Move forward, but be mindful that your actions are truthful and honorable. If you do so, you'll be unconquerable. So, very fitting with protecting the new endeavor and the truth as well. And moving forward, the Ace of Swords was coming to mind as well. Oh, casting away, that's the phrase I was trying to get at. But casting away, the Six of Swords, like casting off the dock. So, whatever, if this, the Irish story doesn't necessarily resonate with you, whatever epic, heroic tale with some sort of weapon imbued with magical powers of truth, justice, so on and so forth. Whatever that is for you, maybe as you go through this, you need some sort of amulet, because this was integral to his story. So, something you can have on your person that reminds you to act with integrity, to act with truth, and you'll be all right. Maybe might not be fun what you have to go through to leave some things behind. But what's that phrase? The hardest things are often the right things. And since Apollo is a god of music, I'd like to get a song here. Oop. Oh, we're gonna need more. Another one, because that is an activity. cereal and cartoons. Highly recommend. I think I have some oatmeal squares on top of the fridge. I usually go for mini wheats, but I wanted to change it up. They don't actually have cereal all that often anymore because it's packed with sugar so much, and I don't want that first thing in the morning. So it's a great option for dinner. And of course, cartoons, uh, entertainment for your cereal dinner. Blowing in the Wind, Bob Dylan. Huh. I'm totally blanking on the lyrics to this, which means I'm going to need to look them up to see if there's a message for myself. Maybe that song has some sort of significance for you, or you recognize it at least more than I do. But I put it in this deck, so I recognized it at some point. So something in the lyrics. But overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates. And if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.